going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz, Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check. This is the state of wrestling, and that is Jake fucking DeMarco. What's going on, buddy?
Forget me. I want to hear from you. How was your star-studded, triple-stacked weekend? I got to hear all the juicy gossip.
Let me tell you how, we have 90 minutes to do this, and I'm in my mind, I'm compressing the conversation about the weekend, because we've got so much other shit to talk about. But, dude, in a word, I told you when I got back from Money in the Bank on Saturday, it's genuine, this is what wrestling is supposed to do to you moments, and more than one on the night.
See, that's awesome to hear. That true wrestler high that you get, that just where you've been so entertained, and you hadn't even gotten to NXT yet, and that was going to be the highlight for you, really. I mean,
I will say, you hit on it, and I knew I was going to have to get onto this at some point. I love NXT. I love NXT now because it's got that you go into it knowing that you can relax and it's a little less serious and it's a little more fun.
Yeah.
I wish it was the other way around. I wish, because the high cap was obviously on Saturday.
Yeah,
so
Money in the Bank.
If Money in the Bank had been on Sunday, because the whole time I was watching the NXT show happen in front of me, right? And I'm like, this is an awesome show. I'm so happy to see NXT again. It's been since TakeOver Toronto 2.
Yeah.
And all that. And I'm like, everything I'm seeing in front of me is cool. And even the critics are loving this show. And I'm like, there was that little bit of my brain that was like, it's not quite Money in the Bank, is it?
There is a reason they're the main roster, And
yeah.
But you can't hold NXT back from it because they did the best they could with their name value too. So it's of course the main roster.
That's what I'm saying. It was phenomenal, and
exactly.
I have yet to watch anything back. I'm not gonna. Usually I'll come back and I'll watch the show I was just at. I'm keeping the high because the whole experience was awesome. I had a single ticket. I was there by myself. I was in 103 in Scotiabank Arena. I know a couple people actually subbed to me while we were sitting there in the stands talking. So if you're listening, hello. Shout out to everybody in section 103. On the second night, the guy sitting next to me and the kid sitting next to him had driven from Chicago.
Wow.
To be at the show. And then obviously we got what we got. The guy on the other side.
Thankfully they got to see Punk, huh?
Oh, well, yeah, this is the thing, right?
It must have went nuts.
That was one side of me. Guy on the other side of me, we were chatting it up, and he was one of the more neutral, WWE, AEW, everybody be friends type of thing. And I'm just to let you know that's not me.
Yeah.
The lady directly in front of me there with 5 kids was the whole. I used to watch this when I was a kid. There's some people that I still like, but it's mostly for them. The kids were hyped. The kids were watching me make an absolute fool out of myself the whole night.
Hell yeah.
Watching me swear.
John Cena announcing his retirement, surprisingly, too. I mean, wow. That's a whole podcast in its own right. But
that's a whole podcast in its own right, and it's always weird the reaction that John gets because, people respect him now because obviously he's not tossed down our throats like he used to be, right?
Yeah, but and he earned his way into our hearts after all these years of him being like, you know what, I'm going to stick with it. I'm not going to turn heel because I want to be the Make-A-Wish guy. I want to be
But the thing was, it used to be obnoxious when he'd be like, oh, you guys are really rambunctious, really controversial tonight. But now it's those of us that were really hard on him, the whole time he was there doing the John Cena Reign of Terror type shit.
Now you respect him.
You want to but you want to boo him in a positive way.
Yes,
kind of like Kurt Angle getting the positive "you suck" chance.
Well, that's why in the crowd singing John Cena sucks, and they still do it in jest, even when they were cheering for him. I think a lot of the opinion swayed when he elevated the U.S. title as if it was the WWE Championship. He took on a lot of new names: Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens. He
Sami Zayn busted his arm before the match even started.
Yeah, I know. So hyped. I still, and it's just a lot of people he put over as time went on. And, I mean, he worked with Roman, gave him his first real showdown in a promo. He really did try to put people over. And the more he worked, the more we saw his dedication, his ability, his in-ring even improved as time went on. Yeah, we got, John still is going to be yelling spots from across the ring, and you're going to hear every bit of it.
I love when he tried to do, the more, wrestler versus superstar, matches or whatever, and he would try for, a destroyer or whatever, but it would be, awkward John Cena version of a destroyer, almost intentionally.
Same with his
the
springboard
stunner.
Yeah, in stereo there, because he did it, and he tried, and he was out there for us. His elbow looked like it had a baby, implanted inside of it, but he was there for us. His nose got bashed on the side of his face.
Yep.
But he was there for us.
And I think it's so cool. Like, the fact that he never turned heel meant that he opened. And this is all in retrospect. If you had told me this at the time, I would have told you to fuck off. But I would have as well. Yeah. He stayed a babyface, but left the door open for the people that wanted to boo him. Yes. And I can't think of any other thing like that, really.
Yeah, no, he handled himself in such a way that it really gave him this aura, this larger than life sense. And like you said, it just worked. Had you told me then, hey, he's going to fight to be a babyface forever, and that's how it's going to stay, I would have, like you said, go fuck yourself. This is stupid. Yeah. He needs to go heel.
The only other thing that people have stuck to that hard, and it does work to give them all their due respect, is New Day refusing to turn on each other.
Yeah, they've had that breakup booked, Christ, endlessly.
But they just keep saying no.
They didn't want to, and why should they have to?
And they're in also though they're in the position to do it though.
Exactly.
Not everybody is in the position to be like, no, Vince, fuck off, no, Triple H, fuck off.
Yeah, and no, we don't want everybody having creative control and handling everything their own. But there are some times where you could be like, hey, that just doesn't make sense.
Creative control is always such an awesome thing.
I know. Why would the New Day now turn on each other? After all they've been through, after having titles and supporting each other and not being jealous, and now they would turn on each other. So it just doesn't fit, It doesn't make sense.
And see,
in the
thing
world
about it is because they've fought not to do it. The ironic part of that is it kind of makes me want to see it.
Yeah, it makes you want to see it even more. Hearing that John had a point he was going to be heel. You know?
For me though, and you can't do it right now because obviously Big E's injured. The match I would want to see out of that, no disrespect to Kofi Kingston, but the match that I would want to see out of that would be Big E and Xavier Woods. I can't really tell you why, per se, but that would be...
I think because everybody wants Kofi, too. That's part of it as well. We don't need him, It was I was never crazy about Kofi. I wish that Xavier Woods got more of a chance to shine and got to be a bigger champion.
It's wild when they did Kofi Mania, and I mean, happy for the guy. Obviously, the guy had a really cool moment, and was it a little Cena-ish, and was there a little bit of agenda behind it? Yes, but that's not their fault. And I was like, oh, that could have been Woods, because I find Woods to be the most entertaining guy. Kofi is the best version of a Ziggler. He's way more... Careful how I say this. He's way more in his place, absolutely ruling over the mid-card than he is pretending to be a main eventer. And I'm sorry, we saw that the second he stepped face-to-face with Brock Lesnar. People hate it, but it is what it is.
It's true, though.
But, he got it, and I'm like, oh, it would have been cool if it was Kofi, or if it was Woods, just because I find him
Woods could have turned on Kofi when Kofi won the title at Mania. You know what that would have been? His kids are looking on, he's crying, he did it, everybody's embracing, and then finally he looks down, and he won't give the title back. He just holds it a little longer.
But then they double down, because then they Money in the Banked Big E.
Yeah.
And like I say, again, good for him. But again, it was okay, you're going to go with everybody but the guy that I'm interested in seeing in that spot.
Exactly.
And then it's it's okay, Woods is going to have King of the Ring in Saudi. And it's okay, that's one of these things is not like the other. Anyway,
yeah, exactly. It doesn't feel the same, and that's kind of been the problem with wrestling for a while with some of these things, is that, some of these things don't add up, and the fans don't always get what they want, and maybe we don't always know what we want, but sometimes we do. And one of the things we really wanted was Cody to finish his story. Did you happen to catch any of the documentary?
No, I didn't. I've heard people with their thoughts on it. I'm sure it's good.
That's a little side thing. I just wanted to ask if you had a chance to see it yet. So next time we get convened, we'll talk about that a little bit as well.
I will still say,
because I have a few things I want to pick your mind on.
They crafted an absolutely awesome thing for Cody Rhodes, and we said it on the night, and I said it afterwards when you and I were talking. I'm not a Cody guy, but on that night everybody was a Cody guy.
Yeah, for a reason, for what they put into it.
For very good reason. They did it fantastically. For me, you're not going to kill the idea that if you want to strictly stick to storyline, the person that should have toppled Roman Reigns is Jey Uso. You're not going to... If you want to talk about the story of the toppling of the bloodline, you have to go back to... That should have been it. the whole bloodline started. Jimmy was out. You didn't have Solo yet. You didn't have Sammy. None of that bullshit. Well, you had the reveal of Paul Heyman, and then Roman immediately started gaslighting Jay.
Yeah.
He was the beginning. He should have been the end, in my opinion. And
Jay went against him. Jay didn't agree with the heel run at first, and that's why they fought each other at, what was it, Hell in a Cell, when he made him do the I Quit match, and he quit because he was going to kill his brother.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the only reason he quit. And we saw it then. And like you said, for story purposes, I agree. 110%.
But if you want to talk about story, I'm sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, no.
We had a lot of local cheers.
Oh, really?
In Toronto. We had a lot of local cheers. I mean, Chelsea got her cheers. Sammy got his cheers. KO got his cheers. Ariana Grace got her cheers. Ariana Grace got Santino chants, which is awesome.
It was fun to hear everybody sing voices and...
Yeah, no, all of that. But our adopted Toronto boy on SmackDown, along with Tommaso Ciampa,
yes,
got the holy shit, bud. The pop for DIY picking up those belts.
It was insane on SmackDown. The pyro, the pomp circumstance, the feel, all of it. It was like they had never even seen a title before. Yep. It was amazing. They really made those two look and feel stellar.
It's the opposite as well, because they have won tag team gold there before in NXT, right?
Yes, not main roster.
And I mean, when Gargano, I think we talked about this in the pod before, but like when Gargano made his return, it was in Toronto. I was there. I was in the pisser at the time, which pissed me off, no pun intended. But like, adopted Toronto boy is a thing for Johnny Gargano. I popped huge. Don't ask me anything else that happened on that show.
That's the thing that stands out, and that's all you need to remember.
Well, this is the thing. So much of and this goes for all three. There was some amazing moments all three nights, right? So much of it was like me absorbing an entrance, me watching the chants, me taking pictures of the full arena, because 19,000 people in Scotiabank Arena does look pretty damn nice.
Yeah.
The big pops, like I said, I was surrounded in my area in 103 with like some amazing people. Constant high fives, constant fist bumps. People were hugging me when
just enjoying each other. Like, that's what you like to hear. God. That's what you like to see.
Because everybody knew about the bundle thing, right? To a certain degree, like the package.
Oh, so you're like, all right, I'm going to see you again. You're going to be here, so let's make friends
from
out of it.
From SmackDown onwards, it's like, all right, we're best friends for like the next 3 days. Like, it was awesome.
Makes sense.
Everybody talking about, hey, did you get home okay last night? Because they know I take transit, right? And I'm like, let me tell you about the creepy people on the bus, but that's another story for another day.
Oh, dear God.
But I just, like, when there's a full bus car, like, and I'm sitting by myself, you don't need to, like, come into, like, the cubicle of seats with me and try to squeeze you and your 5 friends into 4 seats when I'm in one of them.
Sure they do.
No, man. Everybody smells like arena. You don't need to be doing that.
Exactly.
Anyway,
you would think, but...
I'll tell you one funny thing, though. Because I didn't just go to Raw, SmackDown, to SmackDown, Money in the Bank, and NXT. I also went to the press conference on Friday afternoon.
Yes, you did. Now, I got a little bit of that from you, but how did that work? Tell me a little bit more about that.
It was not like the ones that they've done in the more international markets, where they've taken a big stage outside and had a huge crowd. They opened up Gate 5, which is like one of the gates of Scotiabank Arena. They cordoned off a little area. It's the same area. If you saw the, what do you call it? If you saw the post show of Money in the Bank,
yes,
where Drew McIntyre was making all of his threats and throwing elbows and shit like that.
Yeah, being very angry.
Same stage where you saw all the crowd behind them, except obviously everybody was facing out that way. It was basically like a corridor. It was a section of the corridor.
Oh, no.
Problem was, and this is where I don't think the timing worked out. The thing was at 5 or so. It ended at 6. We weren't able to get into the bowl of the arena until 7:30. So we were all like awkwardly in this little section of the hallway.
Yeah.
And you couldn't go back out because the rest of the people waiting to come in were outside, and you couldn't go into the bowl. And you got the people that have just done the press conference, and granted, they're all being very, very nice about things, but like the guys there with the big boom camera and shit, trying to wheel it out. And he's like, can you move out of the way? And I was like, where would you like me to go? I will say,
where would you like me to move to, sir? Yeah, one of those. Like,
no, and he wasn't being a dick about it, but I was just like, I would if I could.
Yeah, exactly.
A couple of the ladies I was talking to there was like, okay, we got an hour or so to wait until the show starts, but we're looking at the people outside. It's like they're out there in the muggy ass heat. We're at least in the air conditioning. We might be a little closer than I like to get to most people, but at least it's air conditioned in here.
Exactly. At least eventually we won't be stuck sweating upon each other.
Oh my god. But no, the press conference was cool. I will say the weirdest reaction at the press conference was for the Judgment Day, because people want to cheer Damian Priest.
Yeah.
But he's still the bad guy for now, like, because Money in the Bank hasn't happened yet, and he's out there with the Judgment Day. Yeah. So it's like they're getting booed, but when he put his hand up, like, to shut them up, like, he got cheered while they were getting booed. I mean, Dirty Dom and his mustache were over at the press conference too, which was hysterical. What kills me though, because at the press conference you see, like, they break it up a little bit and there's a video package here and there and everywhere, right?
Yeah.
There was no screen on stage.
Oh.
It was one of the arena screens, like above one of the bars, that was showing the screen. So we'd be looking straight at the press conference, and every time a video package came up, we were like, you saw everybody's head turn to the left.
Yeah, you're jerking your neck around to get to go see that.
So that was a bit funny, and everything echoes in the arena. Like, you don't actually hear anything ever, like, in the arena when they try to show, like, interviews and whatnot.
Even promos at times are hard to hear, and get so many people booing and cheering and chanting that it just becomes a lot of drawn out noise.
Yeah, even when, like, because we've always said WWE's really good at video packages, but, like, the booming bass, like, you don't really hear anything in the video package even. But
no, certainly not.
SmackDown was awesome. I mean, it was a lot of promos and nonsense leading up to the pay-per-view, but that's to be expected.
Yeah, they had to build up to Money in the Bank, so.
Yeah, so that was a lot of fun. DIY obviously was great. I mean, to be fair, Waller and Theory were great in that match as well. I believe it. I want to go back and have that
in person. I mean, the camera-wise, what we saw at home, they played it up great, and they also eventually have a feud with each other that they can turn this into, so that's cool.
And it's nice that they have the history to lean on with Gargano and Theory. If somebody's going to pull Theory away from Grayson Waller, it makes sense to be Gargano, all that kind of thing.
Yep. With the way and all that.
I will say, though, what was hysterical, we had 2 dark matches after SmackDown. Which is not out of the ordinary, right?
Yeah, you had what, Sami Zayn, you said?
Sami Zayn and Gable was like the last match. And it was one of those, like, you knew it wasn't going to change hands because the title's literally being defended tomorrow night on the
next night, yeah.
But I mean it's still Sami and Gable, and that's not going to be a bad match. But in the middle, I can't even remember who she was facing, but it was Naomi versus somebody. And everybody had just lost their shit over DIY winning the titles and all the pyro and all this.
Oh, so Naomi got nothing.
Oh my god, dude, rat pissing on cotton in that arena for
so
that match.
Bad. Out of all people, it's like, at least it wasn't Sasha.
I mean,
people would have asked for a refund for the next 2 days. They didn't even go yet.
I'm pretty tepid with my sympathy for Naomi, but even I was like, damn, that sucks.
Yeah, that's like after Lesnar when they beat Undertaker, and then they sent the women out there at Mania. It was just
my god, yeah. What was it before SmackDown? I seen Baron Corbin in a WWE Speed match.
Yeah, that was interesting to see him, compete non-NXT for a little while,
Well, he is on the main roster now, but like
but we haven't seen him in what?
Well, they're teasing something with him and Carmelo, which I'm not gonna lie, I could do without. But cause I just want to see Carmelo do some cool shit. Like if they bring Jimmy back anytime soon, I'd love to see a Jimmy Uso Carmelo Hayes thing, because I think they could rev each other up, because Jimmy's not quite where Jay is, and that's not really nice to say.
Well,
but
no, but Jay.
Jay's taking off, man.
He's very over, but I feel like it's just an entrance right now. I like that they're gonna possibly go with him stealing the Fireflies. Like, hey, that could be interesting.
I don't know, man. Happens. Like, for me being at the arena, like, the energy yes, matches are important, obviously. Yes, stories are important, obviously.
But as far as that entrance,
I'm not talking about entrance. I'm talking about fucking energy.
Oh yeah, well that.
Like somebody was asking me, like, what on Twitter the other day. I can't remember your name. I'm sorry. why I liked Willow Nightingale. And I'm like, she's a great wrestler, and she's a brand new talent to me through AEW, so there's a endangered species. But, like, it's just an energy thing. And with Jey Uso right now, it's an energy thing. And in the
Absolutely.
in the arena, that guy, like, I don't know.
That translates.
I don't know, because if you're watching it on TV, you would say he bounces off the screen, but like I don't know what the equivalent of that is, like actually being there. Even
he gives everybody that electricity. He gets everybody going.
Even just in the press conference when the 6 of them were sitting there talking about the match, he's just like you know how they was just saying promos where like if The Rock was doing a promo, like he was never not moving.
Yeah.
Like Jay's got a little bit of that, but you know they had the promo between him and LA Knight. They set the stage for the yeet thing that they were going to do tomorrow night.
Cool.
They sort of like preempted the audience to do that. And like I said,
hey, good on them to get that going.
Oh yeah,
I was kind of upset they cut it off on SmackDown a bit premature, or in Money in the Bank a bit prematurely. They only got to do it for a little bit.
Yeah, but I figure, you know what?
It'll be used more in the future. I'm sure something will happen.
Going forward, actually, I shouldn't say that because he's on Raw. I was going to say, if he was on SmackDown, when LA Knight picks up the title from Logan Paul, which I think he's going to, like, Jey Uso versus LA Knight wouldn't be the worst program in the world, because you got LA Knight, who's very much like the energy, the presentation, and all that sort of thing too. So it would be like versus like a little bit. But I just stopped myself there because I remember they're on the wrong brands, and they always stick to the brands.
Yeah, they always. I mean, you saw people from both brands the other day, and it kind of happens every now and again, but at least for the most part, they stick to who's where. And
I was going to say, they're better at it than they used to be, and now it's just like when they cross over, and there's definitely a reason why they've crossed over, because they're advertising a crossover pay-per-view, and people still jump on it. And I'm like, you know what it is. Like,
exactly. You understand why. It's not just each week where Vince was having people trade off because we can now trade 3 superstars per show, even though he couldn't even keep that straight. God. Some weeks it was 4, other weeks it was 2. It was like, come on.
All right.
No consistency, but I'm glad you enjoyed SmackDown.
Tiffany Stratton winning Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
Chelsea
that was
Green,
a hell of a
man.
move.
Tiffany Stratton and Chelsea Green were probably the 2 most over people in Toronto. And we're talking shows that had Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens on them.
Nuts.
Like, Chelsea, like, props to her for the bump. Like I say, I couldn't tell you what happened in all the matches because I was taken in with, but like, obviously, like, Wesley hitting the table in NXT, Chelsea taking the big bump, the Destroyers and all that stuff is all sort of sticking out. I didn't see a whole lot of Sami Zayn versus Braun Breaker, I'm not going to lie, because although I wanted to see the match, there was story in every other match, so in the least way I've ever meant this ever, Sami Zayn and Braun Breaker, the beginning of that match was a little bit of a piss break for me because I had to.
Hey, it works.
The Smirnoff bar was on tap. It's very nice. But I mean, what else is there? I don't. Maybe you can say. Maybe it was different at home. Like I said, I haven't watched it on TV yet. What was the general vibe around the 3-on-3 match?
I feel like everybody enjoyed it. I had a ton of fun watching it. You know, there was a good deal of interest. You could see both sides winning, so it kind of had a bit of intrigue there. I thought it was translated really well. The crowd was big into the whole thing. They were very upset with the ending, rightfully so, and
like they're kayfabe upset. Like they're okay, we know where this is going.
Like,
upset.
No, we don't want to watch this anymore. Exactly. No, they were
not
like
WrestleMania 39.
No, they were like, oh, we want to see what happens next. You know, how is Cody gonna get his win back? How are they gonna get out of this one? That kind of idea. So everyone at home seemed to be fully entertained.
Yeah, and
even with the heel victory.
Yeah, and even though like
there was a lot of heel moments really on the show, you figure.
Well, yeah, this is the thing. Like, Money in the Bank is a heel thing. I've always
typically, yeah.
Like, I don't know if you would agree with this 100%. I've always said, as far as like ways to push yourself to the front of the line for a title shot, Royal Rumble is the babyface way to do it. Money in the Bank is the heel way to do it.
Yes, and
which doesn't make any sense because you kill yourself more in a ladder match than you do in a Rumble. Technically.
And that's what made Drew interesting. People were saying a bit with him, like, oh, they ruined the briefcase by wasting it.
No, man. I'm not just saying this because I said that's exactly what would happen.
Yeah.
I'm not just saying this because I said that's exactly what was going to happen. He's going to let him win. He's going to give him hope. And he's going to take it away. Mm-hmm. Dude, if I tell you, I was watching that match, and apparently if you were watching it on TV, you could see both Priest and Fuck, I can't even think of who he was facing. That's bad. It was Rollins.
Yes. Seth.
Apparently, like, if you were watching it on TV, you could see both of them kind of looking up the aisle, kind of expecting Drew to come down.
Yeah.
We couldn't see that
It
from our
sucked
end.
that the ref didn't count the 3 count there, and that.
I mean, you know what? I don't care,
Priest
man.
was supposed to kick out, but
The botch is a botch. Like, fuck off.
Yeah. They happen, and people are like, oh, if it was AEW, 8 alive. But those things, I'm like, that was on the referee, not the referee.
But if you come to me, if you come to me on X with an AEW avatar, like, talking about botches, I'm going to laugh as close to your face as I possibly can.
It's the difference between somebody not playing the right music cue to break up a 3 count.
Yeah.
Versus jumping on each other and landing on their heads repeatedly.
Or one of the
referees acting like they're
one of the guys,
a wrestler
like,
in the
match, like breaking his foot again or some fucking nonsense. Tits out and watch for the shoe. We got lesbians and we're bleeding. It's fine.
No injuries coming out of Money in the Bank either.
Oh my god, no man. Okay, coming off of last night.
Tyler Bate had surgery on his pec. But
Tyler Bate is out because of a match that he had on NXT a couple weeks ago, which is why Pete Dunne is going to have a solo run on Raw for a little bit. We are going to talk about NXT later on. There's lots to talk about. But I'm just saying, if you have an AEW avatar on your X profile and you come to talk to me about botches, I'm going to laugh in your face. Anyways.
You're not wrong, sadly, for that one.
But the whole, and we're going to talk about the title scene on Raw as a separate note. You saw my really messy notes. It's going to come together. But I mean, when I tell you, like, I did a lot of yelling. I mean, you heard me. I talked to you, or I sent you a message really briefly after Money in the Bank, and you heard how my voice was, right?
Yeah.
But if I tell you, I already had no voice before that match. And when Drew came out, I'm like, okay, we're halfway to exactly what I predicted. That's a little bit of fun, but also it's the most sensible thing in the world. And then when we seen Punk just rush the crowd, let me tell you, I was not in my chair.
How could you be?
I was not in my chair, but I was not standing either. Like, you know when you yell so loud, like your back arches, like Roman before he does the Superman punch? Like
yes.
I was doing that, bro, without even thinking. I'm like, and that's the exact moment where I talked to you on my train ride home, and when I said, like, that's what wrestling is supposed to do to you.
Yes. It's supposed to make you feel again.
Like, it was that off the back of DIY winning. We hadn't quite had the Tiffany Stratton win yet. Other stuff that we're going to talk about on the NXT show. But I was just like, everything's happening. And it wasn't, because you had like the mind games at Clash at the Castle, where he did the referee stunt and,
yes,
put the 2 fingers up and like, hi, I outsmarted you, whatever. But it's the other half now. I'm going to mess with your mind, and then you hurt me. So I'm just going to fucking ravage you.
Yeah. I'm going to destroy you. And
I don't know whether it was
everything
just,
you love.
I don't know whether it was mic'd up or whether it was just it happened to be on the side of the arena that we were on. Every crack was like echoing in the arena when they were fighting.
Sure.
When they were fighting, and I was just like, fuck. And even as they're all walking away, I'm like, this so works. CM Punk's got his thing with Drew right now. CM Punk's gonna have pissed off Seth Rollins now, which they touched on Raw. The only thing they didn't really do, and I kind of hope they would lean into it a little bit, is Damian Priest's whole thing right now is telling the Judgment Day to, like, fuck off, I want to win on my own.
Yeah.
And he didn't get that. I wish that they had leaned into that as well, because it's sort of like he wants the honorable victory, and he hasn't had one, and CM Punk's been the reason that he hasn't had one. They haven't really touched on that yet, but it's right there, and I'm like, I don't care what you say about CM Punk. This dude is going to fucking feed families with the shit that he's setting up.
He is already. I mean,
already, but like,
they're already having great moments. And
but here's the wild thing.
He's not wrestling. He's had 2 matches.
I'm sorry to cut you off. He fought Dominic at Madison Square Garden at a house show.
Yeah.
And then he was in the Royal Rumble. He's doing all this, and he has not had a televised singles match yet.
Exactly.
It's.
There's so much.
And it was like, oh, but I can't really cheer for him because he's not really a good guy. Let me tell you something. Bad guy, good guy, I'm going to cheer for somebody I understand. And if we lived in a world with no rules, I would have that attitude of, okay, you just fucked with me. Let me fuck with you for your whole life.
Exactly.
It's the understandable thing. It's why
so many ways.
If I can make a Marvel reference, like there's lots of cool characters in Marvel, right? Last time I actually got upset watching a Marvel movie was Guardians 3. And it's how dare you make me give a shit about a CGI animated raccoon, right? But you know why? It's because they're just a bunch of dicks, and they're all friends, and they're all busting each other's balls, and that's more relatable than Iron Man or whatever.
Yeah, rich guy Iron Man and Tony Stark, is like, how are you supposed to be relatable to that? Captain America is infallible, and just, it's like, so then you get these guys on a ship hunting and just joking around, being friends, like you said. How is that not enjoyable? How is that not relatable? How is that not the everyman scenario? Star-Lord didn't have any powers. He was just a... later on they changed.
Well, we found out that he did, yeah.
Yeah, but initially, when you started liking him and fell in love with him initially, it was because of, hey, he's the everyman. He's just a smuggler that's going, another Han Solo type. And
yep. But here's the thing, like if you take that from the Punk perspective, right? Like see him making his big ass comeback after, like, whether you want to acknowledge AEW or not, either WWE pissed him off so much that he disappeared for 10 years, or AEW pissed him off for so long that he came back to WWE. No matter which narrative you want to go, no matter which narrative you want to go with, he's finally made his thing. He's finally back home in WWE. He's at the Royal Rumble. He's going to go, and Drew McIntyre not only cost him that, but enjoyed the fact that he cost him that. Exactly. I can't get engaged with any character that doesn't want to fuck that guy up.
How could they not?
Exactly. But it was so fucking good, and everybody around me was like, "Oh yeah, like he's the asshole you can get behind." Like that's
Punk's not being a tweener. He's not acting. He's just acting like himself.
Yeah.
As where Drew is doing some heel things, but he believes he's right. And that's kind of what they're doing with Hangman as well right now, but on a different level that doesn't work. See, that's the problem.
Hangman. No, fuck Hangman. Like
that really hurt his character now. I mean, he just did this major heel return, and heel change, heel turn, I should say, and then makes his return, and they've already had him been beaten by a simple roll up after a bloody and battered Daniel Bryan survives everything. So it's just again, not making stars. But here's the point. Yes, they have Punk. They have all these things. But they've also, as you said, who was the main one there? It was Damian Priest, not CM Punk. It was Damian Priest versus Seth Rollins. But in several instances, they were worried about making new stars, having talent.
And see, here's the thing as well, right? Where I will give the naysayers a little bit of credit. Yeah, Seth Rollins kind of popped back up out of nowhere. Yeah, he kind of got a title shot out of nowhere. But it was only a platform to do the Drew and Punk stuff.
Yes, and on top of it, it was also in storyline. It made sense as to why Seth got the match, and you have Damian Priest saying that, oh well, no one's saying I'm a real champion. I'm just a placeholder. And Seth was the original world heavyweight champion and held it for a long time. So him this makes him more legitimized. So beating Seth is a sensible, it's a big thing, and it's a sensible. Not only because he introduced that title, but also because just look at the longevity that he's had.
Like
both,
the run from NXT all the way up.
Yeah, exactly, all of it.
Yeah, but also the way we get around.
It's multifaceted how important it is, and you get that. And when people don't, I don't understand how.
The way we get around it, though, as well, and I will say, like I've said in the past, like it's really bizarre that the best way to get a title shot is to get injured and disappear for 6 months. Not cool. You shouldn't be like gift wrap stuff like that, right? There is the whole And I'm not making the let's make a ranking system like AEW argument, but like there has to be something that got you there. You know what'll get you there? When the champion challenges you.
Exactly, and that's what
they did, and they went about it the right way. But no, Punk came out, and I'm just like, that's my guy. He's doing what I wanted him to do. He's doing what I predicted he was going to do, which is always nice.
I guess the point that I was trying to get at with you is that there's more than one person to enjoy and cheer for in WWE right now, and I don't have that in AEW. I did a while ago, but MJF is a guy that I enjoy watching, and he's cutting interesting promos as a heel now, but again, it's just more of the same from him, and it all led nowhere. This big, bidding war 24, and he's going to do nothing happened. Nothing came of it. It made him look like shit. And then the face run, now he's heel again, and I don't know. We'll see what happens with Ospreay. They're facing each other early, but with WWE, there's a lot of people that I'm interested in, legitimately interested in. I like Damian Priest. I like him a lot, and there's parallels to what's going on there with things that are going on the SmackDown side. But everybody has a story currently. People are involved in things. They're not just, you know what I mean? That was one of my favorite things, and I've said it over and over again, but about the Attitude Era.
Yep.
Because you think back, and I remember Val Venus almost getting his penis chopped off, and I remember the Road Dogg pushing fucking, Foley
Cactus
off
Jack and
dumpster
off the dumpster thing.
Yeah, things like. But I remember the stories. I remember because even the characters in the middle had something to do, and it was memorable. When everybody has a story and everybody feels important, it makes the title scene feel more important and impactful. It makes it, everything is elevated, and that's what we lost for a long time. It felt like they could only focus on a Cena, a Roman. So for years, that was pretty much the
But you know what the
only
cool thing
story
about it
we
is
got.
right now? If you want to draw the parallels to SmackDown, I'm sorry, like the direct parallel on SmackDown the direct parallel between Raw and SmackDown right now is Damian Priest, Solo Sikoa.
You nailed it.
Because neither one. Okay, I got a lot of stock in Damian Priest. I want to have a lot of stock in Solo Sikoa. I want it to work. I don't want him to just be basically what he's doing right now, with everybody else calling him Discount Roman, which I think is kind of bullshit. But
it's not a fair
look at who you've got.
is.
But look at who you've got around Damian Priest right now: CM Punk, Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, and I mean Gunther's a slightly different part of the equation. But like you've got people around him there. You've got Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens, Randy Orton, all around Solo Sikoa that are going to make that shit happen.
Exactly.
They're going to make that shit happen. I mean, Cody Rhodes is out starting a podcast now, but, maybe he'll, have a match,
We'll see what happens with that, yeah. But no, honestly, that's the thing. And there's just a lot of people being built up, utilized, and finally people are having things to do all the way around. I mean, look at the highlight of SmackDown for you.
Yep.
You didn't name any typical major star.
Nope. I just followed my direct NXT bias all the way to the main event of SmackDown.
But even if you didn't have that, even if you went as somebody that hasn't watched in years, the presentation of the main event and how they, presented them, and it was such a big, grand deal for them to get these titles. It was like, oh yeah, this is a big deal.
Well, that was the thing. Like, you could have had the feel good moment of them finally winning, and it's just like, okay, they're the good guys, they beat the bad guys, and that's a cool enough story. But as soon as they won, as soon as they got those titles, they told you immediately, this is a big deal.
Exactly. The pyro, the pomp and circumstance, the story building up to it with the video packages that they played and showing the history and. They did a stellar job making sure.
That is a cool, and I know it's a production thing, right? But, they're doing more video packages on Stars to remind you who they are, even if they can't necessarily be on TV right now. But they're also featuring titles. They're also featuring individual achievements. They're also featuring, here's the history of Money in the Bank. Here's the history of the King and Queen of the Ring, because we haven't done it in a while. Here's the history of the IC title, the US title, tag titles, etc., etc. Now, tag titles are a little different because they've gone through a little bit of mud over the years.
Just a wee bit.
So you really do kind of have to sweeten that up. But, I mean, WWE's video production team is on point. And then,
and the Usos held them for however long. And, and it was like a New Day had them, but they weren't exactly always being defended then either.
I was going to say the next goal for them for the tag titles, and this is like a side joint a little bit, but their next goal is to find what the next rivalry is to make those titles mean something. Like, who's the next successor to Usos versus New Day?
And even still, we got, great tag champs after the fact of the Usos with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. Yeah. Two main eventers that went and teamed together. And they had a good, solid, decent run with those titles. And then everything with Judgment Day. It was like another group that got elevated.
Okay, but see, here's where they derail. As cool as that is, you got Sami and KO, where the story is they're two individuals that finally got to team together. Hey, isn't that neat? But they were still two individuals, right? And then it went to the Judgment Day. Same thing with the Bloodline. before that, where they weren't on the team, they were part of the stuff that a group was absorbing.
Exactly.
So to get a tag team that's actually a tag team, not two individuals, not two random people from a group. Like,
exactly.
As much as the faction stories are awesome and they're killing it on all fronts with that shit, maybe not for the tag titles, because the tag titles you need to show tag teams. It's a much worse situation in the ladies tag division, obviously, but the guys' situation isn't really that far off when you consider
they're starting to build up more.
Oh yeah.
Thankfully.
Well, we're going to talk about one that might help them in a second.
Absolutely.
But first of all, we got to switch over. Like I say, lost my voice, lost my fucking mind. Money in the Bank, lots of fun.
And while we're making parallels, actually, really quick, one of the things I did want to ask, you don't have to answer now, but we'll at least touch on it, I don't want to forget, is what you thought of, Kaylani's match in NXT, because with her and Soul, a lot of people are making parallels, again, theme of the night, that's the word of the day, to, Ospreay and Ricochet.
Okay.
So I'm curious how you feel.
Okay. All right. First of all, not two bad wrestlers to make a comparison to.
No.
Especially considering what fan base is making that comparison.
True.
Like, if I'm a WWE guy and I look over at AEW and I say, man, that guy's almost as good as CM Punk, right? That's high praise for me because I'm a WWE guy. Yes. I like CM Punk. And
exactly.
I'm not particularly fond of AEW. 3 layers, that would be like the most immense compliment, right? These guys were all whacking it over the fact that they signed Will Ospreay.
Yeah.
They are already pulling for the Ricochet Ospreay rematch in AEW because it's already a good match, but if it happens in AEW, we can own it, blah, 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 blah. Not going down that road right now. But, like, you're comparing it to this thing that you think is, like, the gold standard of wrestling. I don't get how that's a dig. And then those same people turn around and say, oh, WWE just does gymnastics. Are you fucking kidding me? From the AEW, from the
after what we just got between Swerve and Ospreay on Sunday.
I don't even care about them.
6.5 star match.
Yeah, I don't even care about them specifically because I'm not taking digs at Ospreay here. I like Ospreay.
I'm not taking digs either. It's just the point of
just
that's his style. He's very theatrical. Very
the company that is run by the Young Bucks, the fans of the company that is run by the Young Bucks are calling another company gymnasts. Like it's I can't. Like the lack of self-awareness is staggering.
And like you said with the Performance Center, compliment. I mean, look at these two. They weren't wrestling on the independent scene. They weren't out there killing it for years. And what we got is pretty damn stellar in front of a live audience.
If I remember correctly, and I could be misquoting, this is the first match. I mean, other than like little touring house shows around Florida, this is the first match these two have had outside of the Performance Center.
I believe that's the case as well, unless they've done anything.
Actually, no. I say a lie. First singles match because they were both in the ladder match at Battleground.
Yeah, but I don't consider ladder match. I wouldn't. That doesn't consider like a.
Yeah, so I'm just saying singles match for the sake of it, right? But dude, and again, it's a vibes thing, and I do use Willow Nightingale as a comparison because I think she's great. Both of them in very different ways. Kalani Jordan and Sol Ruka both have like that high energy, positive energy, like handshake at the beginning, handshake at the end thing that doesn't happen very often and doesn't work very often in wrestling. So if you can find two characters that are relatively well liked and do it, just do it. Like this is a match that you plug in on a pay-per-view card that you don't think has enough matches. Let's just throw them back in a match. Like you remember Monday Night Raw, in the dregs of Monday Night Raw when nothing was good. They went through a whole period of time where like the default was give them Aleister Black versus Buddy Murphy one more time.
Yeah. And we'll throw this out there and
like it didn't make any sense, but it didn't care because the guys were good.
It was always reliable. Like, the night sucked, but at least we got those two to give us a good match.
But if you've got a solid
thankfully we're not in that phase anymore.
Well,
our biggest complaint is when a story isn't amazing.
Yeah, it's like it's an 8 out of 10 instead of a 10 out of 10. But if you've got if you've already got a reliable pairing that you can plug in at anytime you need to fill some space, you've got people that are that reliable that are in your developmental system. Then don't tell me that the PC doesn't work.
Exactly, and
Braun Breaker, Tiffany Stratton, Baron Corbin, Kalani Jordan, Sol Ruka. I can't say Roxanne Perez because obviously she had a previous whatever with ROH and stuff like that. But like, no, not everybody that comes through the Performance Center was made in the Performance Center. But everybody that goes through the Performance Center says that they gained something when they were there.
One of the criticisms that I heard this weekend was, Shawn Michaels devaluing Stephanie Vaquer by making her go to NXT. I can't believe they're saying she's not experienced enough. I can't believe they're saying she's not talented enough to go to the main roster.
Bro, I can't.
Well, finally they had to defend themselves, and they explained it. They're like, it has nothing to do with talent. She's only ever worked really for one company outside of the United States. Mm-hmm. She's never worked on American TV, and she doesn't really know the American way of life. So we're going to give her a slow introduction by having her go to NXT, and once she's comfortable, we'll move her up to the main roster.
As we've done. Here's the other thing nobody realizes. I mean, not nobody. Like, we realize it. People with a level head on their shoulders realize it. But, like, when you bring in somebody with that much experience to NXT, you're not just trying to polish them up. They've got a wealth of outside knowledge to give to the people that are new and are being made from scratch in NXT.
Yeah, it's multifaceted again, and it's working on many levels to take care of everybody.
Do you think they sent Becky Lynch back to NXT because she couldn't find the hard cam?
Or because she needed polishing? No, of course not. It's because she was going to work with people and have them get those amazing matches that we saw.
I cannot. Okay, we're 5 years in now. I'm saying this right now. I'm not going to do the moratorium thing again, but I cannot abide this cut and paste nonsense that I know these people that are saying it can't even believe anymore.
What really upsets me, though, the people that are upset that she's going to NXT are also the people that are saying, like, well, look at what NXT does to female stars. No one's been a success.
Are you kidding me, bro?
And I'm like, but you're the one that just got done saying how much you love Bianca Belair. She is the epitome of success from NXT.
And again.
She's main evented WrestleManias.
And again. Girl. And again, the lack of self-awareness. AEW fans telling another company how they should be handling female superstars.
Astounding. Yeah,
I can't.
No doubt.
I can't. And I'm sorry, like, all due respect to WWE main roster, like, one of the reasons that I like the NXT TNA thing we're going to talk more about in a second, like, nobody features their female talent better and more prominently and more proudly than NXT and TNA.
Especially right now. TNA was doing better by the women than WWE was for a while.
The
knockouts were amazing for a long time.
When WWE was in the dregs,
they had to play catch up.
Yeah, no, when WWE was in the dregs, TNA had their women main eventing shows. The only difference I will say, and I don't think this is going to change.
Awesome Kong, Gail Kim, Mickie James, there was a bunch of them there.
But the other thing I will say, and we're not going to see it in WWE probably, but TNA still does it, is they're not scared to do the intergender wrestling.
No.
You had the fucking Jordan Grace, Sami Callihan, Jordan Grace. I mean, a lot of it's Jordan Grace. Let's be real for a second.
But the one thing that I'm tired of too,
But Jordan Grace fought for their world title.
Yes, and they could make it work. We've seen it before, with China, obviously, but Nia Jax has, and Shayna Baszler, I can see her and Sami Zayn having a good match. There are ways to do certain things. But I'm also tired of the equality thing.
Yeah, but here's, I mean, it's there. There's a way to have that conversation properly.
Okay, yes, I agree with that.
I don't think Mariah May is taking on Swerve Strickland.
No, certainly not. And I mean, Candice LeRae used to have hardcore matches with the men. She was getting super kicked in the face with
everything.
Yeah.
Well, then the Joey Janela stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. She was getting kicked in the face with thumbtacks repeatedly, bleeding all over the place, and being manhandled. Pun intended.
But if you're going to tell me that WWE, NXT, TNA, whatever, like that's not a place where women are going to get treated properly. And I'm sorry, I turned to your X profile and you have a AEW avatar. I'm going to tell you to suck my cock.
Yeah, at this point, it is baffling. And one of the things I don't want to see, with all the parity that goes on between the guys and the girl, is them to add this mid-card titles as they've so been rumored to have.
All right. We're going to disagree on that one, but
I know there's a lot of tit for tat to go, and that'll be something we get into at another point. Yep. But
if they do it and it sucks, I'll be the first one to stand up and say that it sucks. If they do it and pull it off, I'm going to be looking around for receipts.
I can understand that, and you know what? I'm more of the pessimistic mindset.
Yeah, that's fine.
I like you being more hopeful. I've just seen how the women's tag titles and so many other titles even have been treated in the past. So Could they do something special?
I have more faith in them creating one or two more singles titles than I do in them finally treating the tag titles properly. I'll say that. That
makes sense. I get that.
But yeah, so anyway, so you jumped us into the NXT conversation. Freaking Kalani Jordan. I really like Kalani Jordan. It
was a very fun match, and I like what they did. And they didn't. I don't know. They didn't do 100 Canadian destroyers because they bounced around each other in the beginning. People were saying it was all gymnastics. It wasn't.
Yeah. And if it was, so what?
But it really wasn't, though. If it was, so what?
Yeah,
yes,
no,
but it wasn't
I get it.
either. Like, it's being unfairly represented.
The Soul Snatcher is amazing.
Yeah, but they're taking one moment and making it sound like that's the entirety.
Yeah. No, there was quite a bit of gymnastic style within the match, but that's because of their respective histories before thing. Like, nobody complains about Lola Vice having an MMA style in the ring because she has an MMA background. Like, that's going to go for everybody. How many wrestlers that used to be football players use some version of the spear because it's a tackle?
Exactly.
It's ridiculous. I mean, Roxanne Perez and Lola Vice was awesome. I don't really have anything to add to that, other than I'm really interested to see who the next contender is.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see what happens going forward, but I enjoyed the match.
Wesley and Obafemi, I'm sorry, all due respect to Braun Breaker and Sami Zayn, this was the big man, little man match of the weekend.
This is the match to really, like...
chuck that man 10 feet in the air.
My God, yeah, this is the one where you go ahead and you're like, anytime you have the David Goliath mindset, this is the match you show people.
Yes. This is what the Big Show matches should have been 15 years ago, except with respect, I don't think the Big Show could do this.
Yeah, sadly, I don't think he had the...
But when he threw him out of the ring, and he didn't just go through the table, he went through, like, the top table bit, but the upright stayed up, and I'm like, he's dead. Like, no, he's dead.
Dead.
And it's almost in that, like, oh my God, like, how do you justify this guy not having the other title? But I mean, that's good. That means the North American Championship is in really good hands. That's like a Gunther situation in NXT.
Yes, and you don't want to get to the no one can beat him phase, and I don't think we're there yet.
I don't think we are either, but they're gonna have to be more choosy.
Yes, they're gonna have to start.
Who beats him? Yeah.
And who he beats.
Oh, exactly. The tag match was fun. I won't say it sort of like it set the world on fire. I'll be honest, but I love the fact the thing that you get with Chase U is they're such goofy guys, such goofy characters. They've got such a gimmick that is gimmick heavy that when they go in the ring and still show you that they can get it done in the ring, it's a surprise every time. And that's really cool. It's a bummer. I don't know why they couldn't get Ridge Holland. Like, storyline-wise, they told him to stay back because he was, like, in detention or whatever the fuck they did. But I don't know what the reason was for him not being able to come over the border and join them. But I would love at some point, like, if they ever put the North American title or something like that on Andre, I hope the tag team then becomes Duke Hudson and Ridge Holland, because that's a monster team.
That would be...
Duke Hudson, like, I mean, I know Ridge Holland is in the group too, and he's the big guy, but take him out of the equation, Duke Hudson's a big dude.
Very big.
And, like, Andre Chase coming off of somebody else's back and doing destroyers and shit, he ripped off Penta. Fuck off. Like, I can't. I have no breath for these people anymore.
I can't say I blame you, though, because it's gotten to the point where it is just so ridiculous now.
And the four-way.
And that's the sad part.
And the four-way. Even though it wasn't the match I wanted Team Canada to go for those tag titles instead. No offense to Chase U. Because I think somewhere down the line, Paige and Spears are going to be a tag team. Like, they're already kind of developing chemistry and whatever.
Yeah, I think that's going to happen at some point.
The match was a lot of fun. I mean,
seeing Ethan Page be the new champ, I mean, I was not expecting that.
I had a feeling... Like, I knew Sean Spears wasn't going to win. I knew Javon Evans isn't going to be the world champion yet. So I'm like, 99% Trick, 1% Ethan Page, because I'm like, what did it take to bring him over and then say, okay, I'll go to NXT? I think there might have been a little bit of that, but if that's the case, good for him.
No kidding. But it's not where he came in and, oh God, he just took the title immediately. You know, first day he walked in, and
the way he won that match.
Standout.
You know how I told you, like, absolutely bursting out the chest when CM Punk had his thing?
Yes.
On the night before. When I tell you the last match, the last moment, him leaving, da-da-da-da-da, I cackled out loud.
Oh, I would be losing as well.
With my whole chest. I stood there, I did like the comedic...
The belly laugh.
No, I did the comedic, like, half, like, jaw on the floor silent for a second, and then when I realized what I just saw, I just laughed. I couldn't stop laughing. It was this generation's version of Daniel Bryan 18 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
It was, like, awesome. And I'm happy for the guy.
Trick right there, about to get it, and then... Oh.
Yeah, and, like, they just did the whole thing perfectly. Like, Paige literally falls into the pin. Shawn Spears is so willing to, like, fuck over Trick that he pulls him out. And, like, Trick's heartbroken. He doesn't really look like a loser, let's be real for a second.
No,
Shawn Spears...
he doesn't, but...
I think Shawn Spears, like, from my perspective anyways, did a lot to keep the match together. Like, I don't want to use this because it's Seth Rollins thing, but as kind of like the architect of the situation. Like, you see him, like, you saw him, like, he always had his eyes on all the moving parts of the match.
Yeah, he definitely seemed like he was the leader of the ring, too, as well. Like, he had a lot of the design to what happened. And
I'm sorry, but, like, the match, even though Trick Williams came in as champion, even though Ethan Page left as champion, that match was a showcase for Javon Evans.
Exactly, and that's the thing.
That dude is 20.
Yeah, exactly.
That dude is 20. He's going to be around a while. And then, here's the thing. I'll ask you something, because I know you watched it on TV.
Yes.
What was the last thing you saw when this show went off the air?
I think it was, well, obviously they had the little Joe Henry teaser.
Yeah, there we go, right?
That was the
they went to the little
post ending.
They went to the little post credit thing, and then you saw the Joe Henry, like, turn of the head thing.
Yep, the quick little hut, and that was it.
Can I tell you something?
Yes.
We didn't see that in the arena.
I recall you mentioning that. You were asking, like, hey, did anything happen? I didn't catch it at first because I had basically...
Well, it's so fast, right?
Yeah.
But we didn't see that in the arena.
When people started talking about it, I was like, oh, really? I went back and I was like, oh, yeah, it's blatant. It's there.
It's there, but it never came up on the screen. Like when the what do you call it, little post credit thing in the bottom there went on, and then it just went to like the Heatwave logo, and everybody just started leaving. Like the minute it went to black on the thing with the credit thing at the bottom,
like maybe just for the live crowd.
No, it was like
not just for the home crowd. I'm saying
it was just like, for TV.
Yeah,
but like the minute that thing was over and they cut the cameras. Lights came up in the arena, and they thanked us for being there, and it was, like, the quickest, like, get the fuck out ever.
Oh, yeah.
It was kind of awkward, actually, but everybody's like, all right.
See you later.
But I was unfortunate, because I was obviously watching it on my phone. I was watching what Twitter was saying about, like, the big fuck finish and all that, and it's like, oh, my God, I saw Joe Henry, oh, my God, I saw... And I'm like, why, was he sitting at ringside or something, and we just didn't catch it? Because everybody all weekend was singing the Joe Henry song. Like,
exactly.
WWE
Say
show,
his name and he appears.
Like SmackDown, WWE show, NXT show, everybody's singing the Joe Henry song. Everybody. And I'm like, if they had flashed that up there for even half a second, it would have gotten the hugest pop of the night. It wouldn't have been recorded on camera.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe that's why they didn't do it, or maybe it was just a production thing they couldn't air. But still, I wish they did show it, because you guys would have went nuts.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I mean, everybody got cheered. Like I say, all the Canadians, Shawn Spears got cheered, Ethan Page got cheered, Ariana Grace got cheered, Carmen Petrovic got cheered, Sammy, KO, Chelsea Green, like everybody, right? But Joe Henry was like the guy from Scotland who was over in Canada. Johnny Gargano, who's from wherever, who's the adopted Torontonian, was getting the pops and all that.
Isn't he from Ohio, right? I think he's where the Miz is.
Cleveland. He's from Cleveland, yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So.
But no, so that was the experience. That was me rambling through my live experience. But then we had Raw, and I'm like,
what a Raw it was.
I came home from the show that I was at.
Yeah.
Amped to sit my ass down on the TV by the TV tomorrow and watch Raw. Like, that's how you know it was a good show. Like, you're still reeling from what you were at, but you can't wait to get home and turn on the TV. Like,
and as much as it sucked to see Drew get screwed again, it was in such a great way. Like, I'm a big supporter of his, so I was like, God damn it, but it only adds to it. And now he's suspended, and Punk says, I don't want him to be suspended anymore. Lift that, let me face him. So now he's got to sit down with Adam Pearce on Monday, so that gives you another reason to tune in for Raw. Like, it just...
But I'm sorry, like, honestly...
Keeping you watching.
With all due respect to Cody Rhodes, Damian Priest, everybody else, like all the champions in WWE, like they're all second to what they're doing with Drew and Punk right now.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm not saying that to degrade the title, because obviously the world title on Raw still needs to be risen up some more. But
absolutely.
But yeah, but no. 2 quick notes. We've already kind of talked about the Raw world title scene. It's kind of cool that there's 5 guys in and around that title that all feel like they belong there. Priest, Walter, I don't know why I wrote Walter because it's Gunther, but anyways, Priest, Gunther, Rollins, Punk, and Drew, and they all feel like they belong there, which is another reason I don't really mind them like tossing off the Money in the Bank cash-in, because who else in that match? I'm sorry, I like Carmelo, I like Jey Uso, I like whoever, right? But any of them, LA Knight, whoever, who's cashing in on Priest, who's cashing in on Gunther, who's cashing in on Rollins, who's cashing in on Punk, who's cashing in on Drew, that's believable out of that group.
I mean, LA Knight could have possibly taken it and run with it a bit, but he's another one where...
But do you want, right now as it stands, do you want to see LA Knight... Because LA Knight...
As champ? No, he hasn't even had a mid-card belt.
That wasn't where I was going, but like, because he's babyface, and he's popular, and so is Cody. So do you want to have him cash in on Cody and make the fans choose who they want to cheer for, divide the crowd potentially?
Oh, yeah. Oh, see, I wasn't even going with the booking decision of like who he faces. Just in general, him holding the briefcase right now, it wouldn't be great. You know what I mean? He's got so many other places to really learn and pick up from. I want to see him be a mid-card champ. I want to see him have the U.S. title or the IC title. I want to see him, there's a lot more to do with LA Knight, and he is on the older side, so they got to be, somewhat quicker than other things, but still, he's over with the crowd.
And what I kind of love about this right now is because you've still got everybody kind of mad at everybody, right? Like Rollins didn't really get a fair shot at getting his title back because of Punk. Punk is mad at Drew, and Drew is mad at Punk, both for title-related reasons. Priest has issues with... Like I say, he didn't really touch on having an issue with Punk just yet. I hope they touch on that in the future because I think it'll be good. But like the 4 of them all have infinite and interlocking reasons to be pissed off at each other. Meanwhile, Gunther's already got his ticket to SummerSlam, and he's just like twiddling his thumbs watching the rest of them kill each other.
I know they're going to show you more coming up, but I wish they did do a bit more with Gunther. I know they've got a few weeks still. He won King of the Ring, but it feels like he was really forgotten about as the next challenger. I know they have time still. Well, because I get that,
but I think they've flipped the dynamic on that though, right? Because normally, if you're fighting to get your way to SummerSlam, you're fighting to get a title shot.
Yes, he already has.
But he has the title shot, so ultimately, if there was no interference from Drew or Punk, then it was really Priest and Rollins fighting over who gets to fight Gunther. So I don't think he needs to establish himself. I think, as funny as it is, I think whoever's the champion going in has to establish themselves as the guy facing Gunther, because he's the, what do you want to say, like the final boss, the guy waiting at the finish line. Yes. So I get what you're saying, but
you're not wrong.
I don't mind it in this particular case. Any other time I'd be on your side for sure.
In a kayfabe sense, you're absolutely correct. For all the story and everything going on. It's just that in the fans' mindset, we haven't seen him since after he won King of the Ring. He's been gone since, and distance is a difficult thing, especially when he isn't a normal mainstay in the main event. So I would really try and make him seem like more of a challenge and an actual threat. And they have time.
See
like
that, but that's where I think it works, because if you've got the champion and their immediate challenger fighting to be the guy to face Gunther, that makes him I think that does make him feel bigger and like he belongs there, because other people are fighting for a spot that he's already in.
I guess I wouldn't have complained as much now had they presented it that way. It's not a major gripe, and they have time to fix it. But had they built it as who faces Gunther instead of does Damian win? Yeah. And I know they wanted to put over Damian, but I think they could have two-folded there as well. They could have put Gunther over and Damian as well. So, but it didn't do a great deal to make Damian Priest feel like this real dominant champion. Yeah, he was going to beat Rollins, but was he? You don't know. So it's like still this is not.
Oh,
so,
I get it. Yeah.
So I feel like they didn't hinder anything, but they didn't really do a great job to put Priest or Gunther over as well as they could have.
I think that helps. I think that helps him as
it could.
They're presenting Damian Priest as a guy who's struggling to be taken seriously. So yeah. the more obstacles or the more people that come to him and say, "Oh, well, you're not really that good." Like the more ammunition they give his opponents to come back to him and say, "No, you're not really that good. You only won because of this, this, and this." It helps tell the story of a guy struggling to be taken seriously.
Problem is that depending on what they do now, you either have a guy that's struggling to be taken seriously, or it's a guy that won his way through the tournament and got the belt. But whoever you lose, it's not going to be it's hard to have Gunther lose because this is his first outing for a major title. And I am
happy that that's the match we're getting.
Priest lose because he's not done a lot to really cement himself as a honorable champion yet, in the sense of someone that's going to be revered in record books. Yeah. So
I will say though, I'm still glad that he won, or he ended up on top at the end of the night, I guess you could say, because
it does make it interesting.
It is the more curious. I think I said this in our preview for Money in the Bank. I didn't want Rollins to win, not because I don't want Rollins to be champion again, but because the combination that I am most curious about is Gunther and Damian Priest. I can kind of picture a Seth Rollins Gunther match in my head. I can kind of picture a Drew McIntyre Gunther match in my head. Would I take CM Punk versus Gunther? Yes, but that wasn't going to happen in that equation.
Not yet. We'll see.
The other thing we got to touch on, the other world champion, the bigger, more badass, former world champion that just came back on Raw, fucking Rhea Ripley, bud.
I know.
Let's fucking go.
Mommy's back, and she is not happy. And thankfully, it doesn't feel like she was gone that long.
No.
And that was also about how the division was handled and how she was pretty much made to be in the corner of your mind and kept relevant the entire time.
Well, that was it was constructed that way. They said
exactly. So
we don't know how much time Rhea Ripley's going to take off, but we're going to construct the story in such a way that whenever she comes back, it'll make sense.
Exactly. Side note, was the thing that kept her protected, but yet gives her something to get right back into.
Two of the biggest rivalries, and they're both on Raw, have been kept alive by awesome storytelling with two huge stars that weren't able to wrestle, with CM Punk and Rhea Ripley.
And in two completely different ways had they kept those stories going.
And it's just buddy, I'm sorry, I will get into the whole, Vince got fucked and got his company taken away. That is a conversation to have. Go ahead and unsubscribe if you don't like that idea. But, this would not have happened 5 years ago.
No.
100%.
Absolutely not. And on top of it as well, here's the thing. Last night they had the women's finals for the God. Owen Hart tournament.
Oh, my God.
And unfortunately, it sounds like I'm shitting.
You're going to make me angry.
I know. I don't want to shit on AEW either. That's not my intention here. But
I do.
It's a direct thing to compare it to. And we just had the Money in the Bank, and they had their King of the Ring, excuse me, and now they have their tournament of Owen Hart, and both with the same goal, the summertime main event. It's like, but they had Mariah May turn heel the exact same way that MJF did the week before. The plucky champ. Oh, and then they go ahead and, oh, look at that. I turned on you. You thought I was supporting you, but I'm not. And now I destroy you and make you bleed. And is it shocking? Maybe, but the way they telegraphed it, it wasn't something you didn't see coming because of how they've handled themselves. You knew it wasn't going to be face versus face heading into All In. They want Tony to be the face, so. But it did nothing to put over.
Pretty sad that WWE developmental can tell a babyface versus babyface story.
And here's the thing. It didn't do much to make people like, oh, it was so sadistic. It was so brutal. She hit her with a belt a few times and smacked her in the head with a high heel. I didn't think it was anything that sadistic.
But Jake, don't you pay attention? That's been the whole thing. She's been telling everybody else to watch out for the shoe. She should have been watching out for the shoe. Oh. Fuck me, bud. I can't with I can't.
You hit it on the.
We have to stay on some good shit because I'm.
But
gonna
here's
go
my
off.
point. To get to this quick, is just that we've had two major turns done the exact same way.
Yep.
And to me, it was just repetitive and boring. As we're on the WWE side of things, we have two stories presented under the parameter of not even being able to have people wrestle.
Yep.
And yet it's being held over better than what they can do in real time.
Oh yeah.
What it comes down to is when she came back, when Rhea came back, it elevated Dominic, it elevated all of Judgment Day really, but it also elevated Liv and anyone else that falls into the story. What they did on AEW, it hurt Willow because now she lost to Mariah May, face versus face. They didn't even have a face versus heel dynamic. There was no cheating. It was a clean victory. So Willow, end of the line. See you later. Thanks for doing nothing. And now Mariah May turns heel, so you didn't need to have her win this to challenge for the title. She could have just turned on Tony and went for the title. And then the turn doesn't really add up after she just sided with Tony against Mariah May, or what's her name, Mina Shirakawa or whatever. Yep. So again, it hurts her heel turn. It doesn't really make sense why she turned heel now when you already have the title match. You already got it, so why turn on her now? It's illogical, and it hurt multiple people. It made Tony look foolish. It made Mariah be senseless as why did she turn now? And Willow gets pushed down further.
And I'm sorry not to take the other side of this coin here, and it's a really easy shot to take at Tony Khan. Tony Khan really doesn't mind benefiting off dead people. And you had the Owen Hart Memorial Tournament, and both of them ended in bullshit.
And not just bullshit, but a lot of bullshit, and the way they
let's big up Jeff Jarrett, the only person in the tournament who meant anything to Owen directly, and squash him like it's a fucking punchline. Fuck off.
They set it up like, oh my god, he has to win this. He is going to be just going high on the feel good story, and they beat him.
Yep. I mean, Jesus Christ. I can't. We got to go back.
Well, that's what I say with the parallels. It all comes back.
It's so glaring, bud.
That's the thing. AEW had these moments that were just stellar, and they haven't in a long time, and that's what's just upsetting.
And the new thing that they cling to is no boom lasts forever, and it's we're lasting longer than you. Fuck.
There's just a lot I want to see right now, and a lot of unanswered questions in the best way possible. Yeah. I'm not saying, what the fuck, why have they not done anything? It's only been 3 weeks, but each week the story has advanced quite a bit.
Oh, yeah.
With the Wyatt Six. I really enjoyed what we got this past Monday. Now we see Bo Dallas in person, so let's see what happens Monday. If we get 8 weeks of videotapes and they never do it, all right. I will, like you said, I'll come back and admit it. But for right now, there's a lot of things that I am giving a chance at defending, and that's it.
See, here's a testament to what WWE is doing right now. The past 2 pods we've done, we've said at some point we're going to take a whole pod and just talk about the Wyatt Six stuff, right? We haven't gotten a chance to do that because there's so much other shit to talk about, and we will.
Everything's been so just
we will do a shorter pod at some point to just talk about all the Wyatt Six stuff because we really haven't done that yet, but. There's so much other new shit happening, right?
Exactly. The thing you mentioned in NXT.
But here, I want to give you a list for a second. I'm going to give you 4 headlines.
All right.
And you pick which one you want to grab first. Jordynne Grace is being very loud about being a free agent come January 1st, 2025. Yes. Julia, who's already signed to NXT, has been cleared enough that she's wrestling this weekend at Marigold, and tell me that doesn't fast track her NXT debut.
Absolutely, because they were worried about her.
There's constant rumors about Motor City Machine Guns coming to WWE.
Now.
And as confirmed by the Booker and Cooker himself, HBK, Stephanie Vaquer is in fact part of WWE now, part of the WWE family, as he put it. So, which one do you want to hit first?
Stephanie Vaquer is definitely where I want to go to, because as soon as he announced, Shawn Michaels did on his Twitter that, hey, she's coming to NXT, we got her. The fan turn, bud. The fan turn is instant. We said it at the same time. It's so bad. I was baffled because these were the people that were just saying oh my God, she had the best match ever with Sasha or Mercedes. I'm forever going to get that backwards. And
but now the new line is that match was only good because Sasha made her look good. Fuck off.
Exactly.
Fuck off.
Yeah. Why would WWE want her to? Why would AEW want to hire her as well? She saw the options, and hey, if she went to AEW,
cool. I guess
that's where she felt better. Great, but we see they're not really handling the women's side of things great right now. I can see why.
If she went to AEW, she would have been like mashed under Sasha's boot again. I'm sorry. I don't have much to say about Motor City Machine Guns because I just think they're an awesome team and
they're great, and that's a huge addition. Everybody thought it was a lock that they were already signed to AEW. Now we're hearing that they're coming into WWE. I think.
But here's the thing, though.
Do they go NXT or main roster quick?
I don't know, but my thing is the thing I love about this day and age we're in now. They don't even have to go to WWE to be on WWE.
Very
Think
true.
about that. If they go all the way around the houses and finally decide, no, we're going to stay with TNA, we could still see them in WWE.
Exactly. I mean, look at what we got with the RASCALZ, and that was a hell of a reunion.
Oh my God! We are going to do that because that's probably going to be the last thing we talk about. Julia being cleared. I don't know much about Julia. I'm very curious. I want to see her, whatever the case may be. Jordynne Grace, enough said.
I think she's a lock for being signed. I think that's going to happen.
See, the thing is about Jordynne Grace, though, and here's the only question I have in my head. And I mean, ultimately, they love her in TNA. So if she decides to re-sign and go back to TNA, I wouldn't blame her in the slightest. Because she's like a hero down there. Or she's over there.
Rightfully so. Treated well.
She's main evented. She's main evented for the main men's heavyweight championship in TNA.
How does that not speak volumes?
That's the only thing WWE can't offer her, I don't think, because I don't think they... Oh, maybe on Netflix, who knows? My thing is, she deserves to be on the main roster. To me, she feels more at home on NXT. Because NXT is more similar to TNA. But for her, it's like I said about Deonna Purrazzo. I'm sad that she went to AEW, but I'm happy that she got on that big stage because I think she deserves it, right? Jordynne Grace deserves a huge stage.
Yeah, absolutely.
And as good as NXT is right now, I showed you the difference between the Money in the Bank building and how full the NXT building was. Like,
exactly.
Difference is, I won't lie about it, AEW fans. Like, yeah, there was some tarps for the NXT show. Not gonna lie.
But what do you expect in a massive arena?
Yeah.
That's being.
And it was still loud. I'll tell you that for free.
Exactly.
But I mean, we already kind of touched on it. Joe Hendry showed up on NXT after the teaser at the pay-per-view, teamed up with Trick Williams to take on Shawn Spears and All Ego Ethan Page when Javon Evans was taken out by Josh Briggs, or not Josh Briggs, Brooks Jensen, I should say.
Brooks Jensen, yeah.
Which is another story we need to dig into another time because the people are really upset about that storyline, and I kind of dig it.
I'm not hating it either.
I get why some people that have been through those situations in real life might be upset by it, but not upset that it's happening, if that makes sense. It's like, if you see a war veteran watching a war movie and they get upset because they've been there. Exactly. I can understand that part of it. I have full sympathy for anybody that's got that kind of situation going, but if you just don't like it because, I don't think they should do that, it's like, okay, you had Swerve in Hangman's kid's crib.
And that was okay.
There's implications there, bruh.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, there is the whole traditional "we need to pop, somebody bleed" thing. Now,
heel turn quick.
Now, Wes Lee got chucked around like an empty tracksuit on Heatwave.
And he was defeated. He
was
came
defeated
out ready
handily.
to quit.
Handily. He came out. He was about to quit. He was talking to the crowd. I will say, right, and I mean, the last time he made a speech like this, it was real because his back was fucked and he couldn't feel his legs and shit and he didn't know when he was coming back.
Yeah.
But he did a really good job of replicating that realness.
He captured it well, and it was like, at first I thought it was legit because of him having issues beforehand. I'm like, is something going on? Did he hurt himself in that match?
But he's like stepping away. Because the last thing I would want is for them to be a thing, Wes Lee got really bummed about his loss and he walked out of NXT, quote unquote, and then he shows up on Raw the next week. Because that's a bit lame.
That's not great.
I'm again, like Jordynne Grace, Wes Lee deserves a main roster size platform as well, but that will come down the line. And then the music hit again.
Yeah, and especially with the story that they were telling.
The RASCALZ came out, and I was like, because let me tell you, right, to me, in one segment, they did so, like, we can talk about the layers in the bloodline, we can talk about the layers with the CM Punk Drew stuff, for me personally, and the way that I experienced these three wrestlers, right?
Yeah.
The layers to this was so awesome because first of all, Trey Miguel I saw first before we got MSK in NXT the first time. Yeah. I saw Trey Miguel at Destiny. Yes, check it out for Spaz Phoenix bucket list. It's fine.
There we go.
He was the inaugural Destiny Next Generation champion. He won it in New York, and then he was presented with the belt up here in Mississauga. And I seen the guy wrestle, and he told a story about some family stuff. And I shook his hand after the match. I'd never seen him before. I'm like, cool match. Congrats on the title. He was really cool to chat with for like half a second or so.
Yeah.
When MSK came in the first time, I was like, okay, he's still killing it in NXT. He was doing, I think he was doing X Division stuff at the time. The guy's phenomenal if you haven't seen him. But I was like, oh, come on, bring over the buddy, and like make the trio, right? And it didn't happen, right? And then, what did they call him? They called him Nash Carter, I think.
Yeah.
When he came in over the NXT, Zachary Wentz, he got canceled. I'm not going to argue with anybody about this. Like, cancel culture is a thing. If you don't think so, fuck off. So he went back with Trey Miguel in TNA and sort of like reformed the Rascals. And there's another fellow whose name I can never remember because I'm terrible. And they are now the trio known as the Rascals, right?
Yeah.
So when this happened, Wesley stayed here. I thought it was really cool because he's a tag team guy. Got to stretch out and see if he could make it as a singles guy. Cool story to tell. Kind of a mini Jey Uso situation in a certain kind of way.
Yeah.
Made that North American Championship real exciting, real interesting. But when they came out, right, it was three things. It was our NXT guy about to quit. It was an NXT return of Zachary Wentz, and it was an NXT debut for Trey Miguel. Three layers, right?
All in one.
And they made reference to the trio and the tag team, right? So we got MSK is the two of them, RASCALZ is the three of them, right? So you got one guy that was about to leave NXT and didn't, one guy that just came back to NXT, and one guy that just debuted in NXT. We got an NXT tag team back together, and we got a TNA faction back together.
Nuts.
And they're going to go up against Gallus next week.
I know. They saw Gallus backstage, and they're going to have the 6-man, and I'm like, all right.
And tonight, like, I'm going to have to watch it later, but, like, probably happening right now as we're recording, over on TNA, Zachary Wentz is taking on Charlie Dempsey tonight.
Yeah.
Like, this is a big thing. Like, this, to have one faction, like, yeah, we had Jordan Grace come out in the NXTNA ring gear at Battleground. I thought that was really cool, right? But this is a dual company group.
Yeah, this is a real Forbidden Door scenario.
Like the RASCALZ are an NXTNA faction.
Yes, they're combined between the three of them.
That's so fucking good. And little tiny thing, we like to talk about production, right? We like to talk about the little production knickknacks and nitpick stuff all the time, right? It's cool enough. It's cool enough to see Jordan Grace when you see like the lower thirds when they come out just with their name, right? It's cool enough to see Jordan Grace in an NXT style of marker on the bottom, right? It's cool enough to see Joe Hendry. But when you see that they've made an NXT lower third with a TNA logo on it, it's such a minor thing, but it's very cool.
Absolutely.
It's very, very cool.
It's unprecedented. You haven't seen anything like this since what? Because
for it to be a production thing, somebody had to go to a production person and say, hey, do this. It's not just like they pulled up a graphic, like a normal NXT graphic, and just said, here, type in the name. No.
When ECW came up into WWF or Smoky Mountain, things like that. But that was kind of all you got of it. So
I just, like... It's weird because everybody's hyped about Joe Hendry, and they should be, right? Everybody's hyped about Jordan Grace, and they definitely should be. Jordan Grace is a phenom, if I can borrow a term, right? But the RASCALZ reunion thing is different because it's one group that represents two companies. And there's so many cool stories there. It's Zachary Wentz coming back after being fucking cancel cultured. It's Wes Lee, who was killing it as a singles guy, still reuniting with his old friends. It's Trey Miguel, who seems like the third wheel, but that's because it's his actual NXT debut next week. Yeah. Like, that's wild. That is, like, that, with all the stuff that we're talking about, I could make an argument that the RASCALZ reunion is the biggest thing that happened this week. Just because of how different it is.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, just genuinely seeing, like, three friends get together and be happy.
And just be,
Everything in wrestling is better when the people doing it are having a good time. Like, I will always, you can show me the worst match in the world. I always use the example of Miz and Maurice versus John Cena and Nikki Bella. Was it a great match? No. Would I probably even bother watching it again? No. But here's these two guys that are pretty good buddies, it seems like, and they got to have a match at WrestleMania with their significant others at the time.
Exactly.
Like, you can't hate that.
No.
You really can't. And you can't hate WWE for succeeding. Now, I told you, when we were passing notes around and whatnot, that I had 2 questions for you that I wasn't going to tell you in advance. I'm only going to do one, because you've only got 5 minutes left. I'm going to say a statement about pro wrestling fans in general. Take a minute, think about it, react to it. The floor will be yours.
All right.
The past 5 years has proven the following. Nobody really wanted a company that was better than WWE. They just wanted WWE to be better. Go.
Ooh, I can honestly see it from both perspectives, and I'm not a fence sitter, so I will say that statement is true in a multitude of ways. But to really break it down, I mean, WWE was struggling so badly that, like you said, it wasn't AEW, it was just any company. We needed competition because competition breeds creativity. And everybody missed the Monday Night War for that reason, So when we got the Wednesday Night War again and things were popping, it kind of added to it. And it gets that rivalry going, that interest is brought back. But it always came back to WWE. And WWE being bad, when it got good, it was great. We saw the build to Mania and how people jumped on board with the final boss and everything we got there. And no matter what, I mean, still, it was a hell of a Mania. So now going back and seeing how much people are enjoying WWE now and how, more fans have actually came back. The ratings have improved. Even if they're not the best on Raw and SmackDown, they're still up from where they were previously. And it does show that core fan base stayed, but they did want to see WWE improve. And then therefore we saw, more people come back when it got better. As we're seeing AEW kind of go down and down continually, WWE is pretty much just going up and up. And we saw WWE go down and down, and we saw the attendance figures drop, and we saw what happened to AEW now happen to WWE, the creative hiccups and things of that nature. But I really think that was the case. People didn't know what they wanted. They thought they wanted to see AEW succeed, but really they just wanted their wrestling company back. And now that it's being treated as a wrestling company, not sports entertainment, I think the fans are finally happy. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right. In hindsight, people didn't want anyone to succeed, anyone else. It was just a matter of they wanted to see WWE be better again. That's a hell of a true statement, especially looking back. I mean, there's so much to consider to prove that true. But the easiest way to say that is how people rallied around Cody Rhodes. If they wanted AEW to be the company to beat WWE, it would have beaten them already. The fans are there. The viewership is there to watch wrestling, and people aren't tuning in to AEW like they are for WWE, and they never have. And when AEW was saying they were winning the war, they were beating NXT, which was strictly developmental. They weren't even pulling people from independent anymore. They were only taking people to the Performance Center and making new stars. And like I said, so I don't think fans always know what they want or what's best for them, and you do need a good booking mind to handle that. But I think fans did just want to see wrestling again, and it took a while to get there, but we had to go through a lot of crap, but we're finally there. But I think absolutely, you're hands down, that statement is true, and we're going to see that sentiment, really continue to flourish as the rest of the year plays out. I mean, we're only seeing them add more and more and more nights to shows. You know, we're going to get 2 nights for SummerSlam, and we're going to get 2 nights for the Rumble even, and it's overkill. And you know, we got 2 of everything: 2 Rumbles, two Elimination Chambers, 2 Money in the Banks, and now we might even add mid card. But it's growing, it's expanding, and things feel good for the first time in a long time. I want to watch Raw. I want to see SmackDown. I want to tune into the pay-per-views, the PLEs. I want to watch what they're putting out. I like, tuning into NXT and seeing who the next big stars are going to be and knowing that, hey, they're actually going to use them on the main roster and they're going to go ahead and they're going to feature people and have people actually treated like talent, not cannon fodder. So, I would say, sir, I think you made a huge, impactful, but great statement there, and I think you're absolutely right.
All right, I'm going to save the other one for next time because that was exactly the type of Jake deep analysis that I wanted on that one. If we had more time, I'd throw you the other one, but I'll save that one for next time because it's slightly more juicy. So that's a teaser.
Keep me and the audience intrigued, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a little teaser for next time, but I've just about got you out on the 90-minute mark. Tell them where to find you, buddy.
You can find me on the Joe Cronin Show here on Twitter. I can still see your stuff. And you can find me on YouTube at Countdown Ended as well. And I'm going to try posting more in the community tab just to stay in touch with people. But, yeah, you can find me there, and you'll find me again on here very soon.
Yeah, eventually we're just going to make you bite the bullet and get a new Twitter.
Yeah.
Eventually it's going to... I know you're holding out, but...
Well, I got a few Twitters, and then they were all getting... It was like ban evasion originally, that they were just getting shut down.
Oh, my God.
But it was basically my hacked account saying a bunch of naughty words that originally got it suspended. Whoever had taken it over, saying the N-word 1,000 times.
Because your account getting hacked is definitely your fault.
Yeah, so that's why it wasn't fully suspended. It was just in this,
in limbo. Which is worse.
It's not supposed to be suspended, but it's not active either, and no support ticket ever got in there. So
this is the long-term storytelling we really need in the YWC. The tale of Countdown Ended, which is going to. I promise you, this is going to end in you getting a new Twitter account called Countdown Begins Again.
It might have to.
And you guys know where to find me, or you wouldn't be here. I've been Spaz. This has been Super Sexy Jake DeMarco. This has been The State of Wrestling. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation. Keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I'll talk to each and every last one of you later. But for right now, me and Sexy Jake are tagging out. Bye, guys.
All those new subs, Money in the Bank. What's up?
There we go.